morning, mi gente. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Apron. I'm your host, Kassy.
And I'm Manny.
Welcome back. We took last week off. I know for the past 2 weeks we've been doing every other week, but it was Mother's Day, our son's birthday, and then Memorial Day, and we were just kind of chilling, relaxing, trying to kind of catch up with the weeks and with my small business. I've been kind of super busy lately, but we have actually changed and updated our system software. So Maddie and I are kind of doing some trial runs. And so these past few episodes, we've had this new software and we've been getting new equipment in. So we're slowly trying to kind of catch the hang of podcasting and stuff like that. So yeah, how do you feel, babe?
I feel great. Just going through the motions.
Yeah, so like I was saying, our family's just been super busy, so it's been a little tough to get in the studio every week. But moving forward, I think we should be good now. So if we don't ever have a chance to, we definitely will let you know. But I'm kind of excited for today's episode. I know that Manny is probably not as excited. Manny knows me real well, and so babe, you know that I'm a huge reality TV junkie. I've watched every single episode of Vanderpump Rules since the beginning, since that iconic transition from the Brandy and Sheena talk. And so I follow a few of the Housewives franchises. My favorite is New Jersey. I can rewatch that one, any time of the year, any time of the day. I can like be watching it in the background. It's like a comfort show for me. It's kind of sucky now that they are on pause because of just how toxic it's been. I know you've watched a few episodes with me, Manny, but we are actually going to be talking a little bit about New Jersey today. And like I said, this new segment that we're going to be doing, Reality Check Please. We're kind of incorporating like check please and reality TV and reality checks. And so, yeah, bub. Eddie is super talkative. So if you hear him in the background, don't mind him. He's our little cheerleader. But babe, what's your perception or your view or your opinion on reality TV?
You already know, I don't like your reality shows that you watch at all. They're just, I don't know. They're just annoying, like toxic people are just always just rude and toxic to like each other and like all their friends and people who they call friends and family. Like it's just, I don't like it. That's annoying.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But says the man that when Scandival happened and we watched VPR
You
from the
made
very
me
beginning,
watch it. Let's get
no,
the
this
record straight.
man,
No,
this
no.
man, you guys,
Let's
he
set the
downloaded the
record
theme
straight.
song and he was jamming out to it in the
Because
shower,
you
in the car.
made
Every
me,
single time we got in the car, he was jamming to it.
because
So you
you
cannot tell
made
me
me
that you
watch.
don't like reality TV.
I don't. You made me watch the entire show because you had no one else to talk to about this. So you made me watch everything so I would understand. Those were your exact words. You said you need to watch it all so you can understand what's going on. So you can come talk to me
But
about it.
okay, so talking about that, when Scandival was happening, it was happening in real time 2 weeks before we had birth. Before I gave birth to Eddie. So we lucked out that in the hospital they had, like the cable TV. That night, so I delivered and I had Eddie on a Wednesday early in the morning. That Wednesday they were dropping the shows weekly at that point, every Wednesday. So they were dropping Vanderpump every Wednesday night. And so I lucked out that over that time, it was the finale. And so they had reruns of VPR on the channel, on the Bravo channel in the hospital. So I thank God that I was able to watch and keep, busy with VPR and stuff and just kind of have that little escape while my first time, having a baby. So it was a pretty positive experience for me. But after we had brought Eddie home and after the finale and after the reunion is when we rewatched it together and we started from the beginning. And so yeah, it was a fun ride. But yeah, Manny does not really like, reality TV like that. I have to like beg him to watch TV with me. So hopefully, even if we just kind of skim through and highlight the episodes that are involving like restaurants, like the iconic, table flip with Teresa Giudice, maybe we won't watch, seasons of Housewives or reality shows, but we definitely will be recapping those unhinged moments that reality stars and TV personalities bring to restaurants, and you're kind of just like you're left wondering like in what world, imagine as a server if you were to witness tables being flipped with your amongst your guests and like glasses of wine being thrown on the floor and people chucking red wine in a guest's face. Like, how would you react if you were there?
Like that. To be honest, I'd probably be like, I don't make enough for this, and I would just tell my manager, yeah, you can figure that out, and let me know when it's done. Like, I'm
Like,
not gonna get in front of
no.
unless they tell me, yes, you're allowed to, like, get involved and stop what's going on, I'm not putting my hands on nobody.
No, no, no. Absolutely not. And then with camera crews, I would imagine it's kind of like hectic. And I think that even camera crews, because I've seen these shows enough to know that when there's physical altercations, at tables, at dinners and stuff in the restaurants, everyone's kind of scrambling and you see behind the scenes of cameramen kind of just like going crazy and, being kind of quick on their feet. And you see security guards, I'm guessing that are with the housewives or a part of like the
Probably just a
crew,
girl, uh-huh.
and they kind of step in. So I would assume that they'll tell you like, don't get involved. If you're not going to serve on them, ask for their order, deliver anything to their table, I would imagine like, don't get involved. I know that I don't know if we watched the latest season of New Jersey where they had that iconic another really really bad blow up scene, and that's the reason why they cut the season short and they just put the whole franchise on pause. They haven't picked up cameras with New Jersey recently, and I think that a huge part of it is because it's just so toxic. The last, I don't know if it was like a lunch scene or a dinner scene. It got pretty hectic. Like everyone at the table was getting involved, was getting up, it was just really bad. And so in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh my God, there's part of like the preview of that season, like the trailer. They got a clip of the server going up to the table to pick up and like sweep up broken glass. And you don't see the server fully, I don't think, but you see the server in his uniform going up with like the broom and dustpan and breaking, like picking up the broken glass. And I'm just like, oh my God, like the not so much like the trauma, but like as a team member, you're just kind of like, oh my God. And
I'd
this
be more
isn't
annoyed than anything. I'd be like, the fuck, bro? Like, now I gotta clean this shit up because you guys want to
no,
act like
literally.
children.
Literally, yeah, I'd be kind of mad. And the craziest part is that this restaurant is not one restaurant that they chose to go to randomly. Like they've been using this restaurant, Rails in New Jersey. I'm not sure like what city in New Jersey, but they've been using this restaurant for the past I think 7 years. They started introducing this restaurant I think in season 6 or 7, and I think right now they're on season, I could be wrong, 14. There's 14 seasons. So for the past 7 seasons, they've been using at minimum 7 seasons. They've been using this restaurant. So imagine if we, as like let's just say Cheddar's or Olive Garden, like a well known restaurant, and you have this camera crew and like this housewife franchise or a show franchise, whether it be Jersey Shore, like anyone on Bravo, Vanderpump, whoever, if this cast has been using your restaurant for the past 7 years and you know that they get kind of crazy and lunches are always kind of just spoiled and there's fights that happen, at what point would you say, like, no mas? Like, yeah, like, basta, there's no more, like, we're no longer going to accept you guys. Like, the attention, not attention, but the awareness isn't worth the chaos that you're causing to our restaurant.
Probably like as soon as like the damages like started getting serious, like a couple glasses is fine, but like if you like break a table or like break something that's like worth a lot of money, like that's when I'll be like, yeah, y'all can get the fuck out.
What's crazy is that they finished that episode, they wrapped up the season, and then they didn't have a normal reunion. I don't know if I ever watched it with you or if you caught a glimpse of, the latest reunion type episode. They did not have a normal reunion with Andy at like a
That's
set.
sad.
And so they ended up going back to the restaurant, to that same restaurant, and they separated the groups by the cliques or by the groups that, like the friend groups that
Whatever they're
were.
like okay with or can tolerate.
Yeah, and so they each got into like a closed off, section of the restaurant. It was kind of like a private room. They each got private rooms, and so it was two separate groups. They had a TV and they had like their table, and it was kind of lined out like this. And the cast was sitting next to each other, rewatching that last episode, and they were discussing,
So
with
who
each
was
other.
directing the
No, just the producers, I'm guessing, that were there on the shift, that day that were in the restaurant.
or why is there a reason why Andy wasn't involved or
Andy did make a statement saying that because of how far the drama has gotten and how toxic, there's no point points of having a reunion, the point of having a reunion, they've always said, is to reconcile and to reunite everyone and kind of discuss what's gone on in the season and discuss what has happened and try to reconnect or um reconcile with each other. And he said this group is just too far gone for that. There's no point. There's no point in having a reunion because we're not going to resolve anything. And so they said there's no point to continue to film. There's no point to have a reunion. So that's why the whole cast is on pause. And Jennifer Aiden, one of the housewives in the recent seasons, she was the one who had that whole debacle at Jersey Mike's on New Year's at the airport. Well, she was also found that she was leaking screeners. So the castmates get the episodes via like a link from Bravo or producers like a day or two before the show airs to the public. That way, I guess they can see what's coming and kind of talk about what, like, kind of be prepared for what they're going to show. Because obviously, not everything makes the cut. And so she was leaking to bloggers, like Bravo bloggers and people who were Team Teresa, and they were getting ahead of the episode. And so at the day that the episode was airing, they were already dropping articles about what the episode was about. And Andy and like Bravo was like, who is leaking our videos and who's leaking this stuff? Like, so she went on Watch What Happens Live one of the nights that the episode aired. Normally they have someone from the cast members from the cast on that night's Watch What Happens Live, and he said, he said something along the lines of like, you guys are leaking the screeners. And then she says, oh, come on, Andy, like everyone does it. And so he was like, no, Jen, like that does not make it right. And so you just admitted like that you do it. And she's like, Andy, everyone does it. So it was, it was like the drama was no longer just like
Entertaining.
simple petty shit. It got very, very ugly. But so that's a little bit about New Jersey in a nutshell and Bravo in a nutshell. But today we're going to take it back and we're going to rewind and do a little throwback, callback to season 1, episode 1 of New Jersey Housewives. And it's ironically called The Last Supper. Is there anything that we wanted to say before jumping in? No, right?
No, you were gonna tie this into the whole like Danielle shit. I don't know.
Yeah. And so Danielle Staub is one of the castmates on season 1. We had 5 castmates. Caroline Manzo, Dina Manzo, their sisters. Jacqueline Norita is their sister-in-law. Teresa Giudice, she is their best friends. And then Danielle Staub is a friend of one of the castmates, which is Jacqueline. And so Danielle is kind of like a shit starter. She's kind of like very problematic. Drama follows her wherever she goes. And, throughout the season 1 of Housewives of New Jersey is only 6 or 7 episodes and the iconic, finale with the table throwing. But Danielle was very problematic. She would start stuff, the stuff that comes out of her mouth. She's like a pathological liar. And so, ironically, recently, within the past few weeks, HBO Max dropped a new true crime documentary called Hollywood Demons. And one of the episodes was covering, Bravo celebrities who have been in trouble with the law. Teresa Giudice was one of them. They covered Danielle Staub and another housewife from Beverly Hills. And the gentleman that was, being interviewed was saying, I was Danielle's first husband. I'm the one who wrote the book Cop Without a Badge, which was the center of the final episode at the dinner table, which was kind of like what broke out the argument and the whole scene. And so he was an informant, I think, for like the FBI or like a law enforcement, group. And he was doing some undercover work. He met Danielle. She was an escort. And I think he said that they fell in love. He confided in her and she covered for him, saying that, just covering the fact that he was an informant. But he found out what she was involved in, or he lived through it, that she was involved with the Colombian cartel. She was like kidnapped. Like the people that she was involved with were kidnapping people, pistol whipping people. It was very dangerous. And so when the other women from the cast found this book or found out that people were talking about this book, they read it and they were just kind of like very taken aback. And they were like, we already don't like this girl. They told Jack, like Dina and Caroline are sisters, and they're like, you know what? We don't feel safe around this. We have our kids around this woman. Like, we have to be proactive and not let her too close into our lives. And the only person that was really her friend at that point was Jacqueline. Teresa was kind of friendly with her. So Danielle found out that this book was resurfacing, and she says, I would have preferred you guys talk to me about it versus bringing up this bringing up the book to, the whole town of Franklin Lakes, and they were just kind of like all defending themselves. And so backtrack, she brings this book to the dinner party. They're having a dinner party for Teresa's like housewarming, but she didn't have a housewarming like party yet. She had like a small little dinner with the cast, and that was the finale, and so all that good stuff. And so she invites Danielle, and so they all bring their families, their husbands, and stuff. And towards the end of the dinner, Danielle, you can kind of tell she's kind of standoffish because she knows that these people have been talking about her behind her back. And she brings out this book, she puts it on the table, and then everyone's just kind of like, really, dude? Like, she calls everyone's attention and she says, hey, I just want to, talk to you guys about this book. I know it's been going around, and she's trying to pin one of the housewives and saying, like, because of you, this book is around town and everyone's talking about me and my kids go to school here, and they're like in elementary or middle school, and you're doing more harm than good. And so then Teresa, but then like, it's not, she was accusing Dina Manzo of the one, prancing around town with it. And Dina's like, no, dude, it wasn't me. Like, what are you on? And so Danielle, she's the one saying that, there's a lot of stuff that's said about me in this book that's not true, and just trying to defend herself. And I would have preferred you talk to me about it and stuff like that. And so Teresa just kind of like blows a gasket at one point, and she kind of just pops off and she's like, Danielle, something must be true in that book. And Danielle turns around and she's like, I already told you, like, the only things true are name change and I got arrested. Pay attention, please. And that's when Teresa like loses her mind. And you hear the iconic line that says, um, it's not just name change and arrested. No, there must be something else. She's like, she says, you prostitution whore, you were effing engaged 19 times. And she slams the table because she's at the head of the table. Her husband is next to her. And then Danielle, I think, is next to her husband, Danielle is like one or two people down the table from her. So they're looking at each other. Teresa slams the table, and then she says, you effing stupid bitch. And she like tosses the table. You've seen the scene, right? You watched it?
Yeah, I have.
I asked Manny to watch this episode, and he was like, no, I've seen it too many times. And we have, like, he's watched it either in the room while I'm watching it, or he knows what it's about. And so I guess I kind of wanted to get a genuine reaction of someone who hasn't really watched it or known, like, the true, minute to minute, story line behind it. But if you were that server, like, it got really ugly. What would you have done? How would you have reacted?
I told you I wouldn't do anything. I would just sit back and look at my manager and be like, what are you gonna do about that? And it would suck because I know they probably, well, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm assuming, well, they probably did pay, but I'm assuming they didn't tip after after all that shit went down. Right?
No, because it was
it was prepaid for and everything was said and done, and they just had to provide the service.
I'm not really sure how these franchises and stuff like that, like Jersey Shore, when they go out to restaurants, I don't know how these housewives pay. If they all pay one tab, if producers pay, if Bravo puts the bill, but
I'm sure they pay, but they probably do it off camera because people are crazy and they could probably pause on your credit card and like steal their information. So I'm sure if payment happens, it's either done off camera or like probably beforehand.
I think so too. I've thought about that too. So if anybody has been a server for these housewives, a reality show, TV personality show, whoever, let us know, because that's something I have always wanted to know. I do think that sometimes, these celebrities or these reality stars, that they do pay. But other times I do think that Bravo foots the bill, or whoever franchise they're with,
Probably
or
and
whatever production.
probably dinners like that, like it's all of them together. Probably Bravo picks up the bill and they're probably. If I had to guess, correct us if we're wrong. If I had to guess, they probably like Bravo like will probably show up beforehand, or like whoever's in charge will show up beforehand and be like, here's this amount of money, this is for the food, and like this is like for the server, and
Yeah,
like this is to
maybe.
accommodate, like this is for the server, or and like anything else that like whatever you may need.
Yeah, definitely. I also think that that night, actually, I think they had spoken a little bit about how it was Teresa's housewarming, dinner at a restaurant. The restaurant is called Lunello Restaurant in Cedar Grove, New Jersey. It's still open. It's still up and running. It's a really great Italian restaurant. They have a 4.6-star review rating on Google. They have over 600 Google reviews, one of them on their website. it says, someone named Fredo on Google left them a 5-star review saying, wonderful, knowledgeable sommelier, excellent prices for the quality of food, amazing dishes. I had the medaglione. I don't know. I'm guessing it's a dish. I'm probably butchering it. I'm not Italian. And was blown away. Then they left the Real Housewives of New Jersey fan little tidbit. They said, they've renovated the dining room where Teresa flipped the table and it's unrecognizable now. But regardless, a cool landmark to see. It seemed that that room, when she flipped it, was a private dining room because I think that there was like doors where you would walk in. So I think it was kind of sectioned off from like the main room of the restaurant. And thank God, because imagine if other guests would have seen Teresa like flip a table. It was kind of
It
crazy.
was seen on national television. So
Well, that's different. Imagine like if there's a fight breaking out amongst the table and you're in a closed room with people or open to the whoever like in a dining room with other guests, if a fight breaks out, chances are other people are going to get involved, whether or not they're going to like physically get involved or try to break stuff up. So I think that having that room separate was probably best for the producers, the camera
yeah,
crew, and everything. But they did, camera crew or producers and securities did get involved. But the restaurant is still open. You can visit it. I think they're actually closed on Sundays. It says closed today, open Monday at noon. So throughout the week, Monday through Friday, they open at noon. They're open till 10 or 11 p.m. And Saturdays are open from 5 to 11 for dinner. So if you are in Cedar Grove, New Jersey, definitely go check them out. It looks like a very good, delicious restaurant. It says online that price per person is average $250 to $100 per person, which is not that bad. Like for a nice Italian, like high restaurant or a fancy restaurant. And people say that it's worth the money, which is good. It'd be different if it was like shit food. But if you're a New Jersey fan and you find yourself in New Jersey, definitely go check them out. Do you think, as someone who's worked in the restaurant, do you think that if this was your restaurant, do you think that that kind of behavior, or looking back and seeing how iconic that scene was and the table flip and stuff, do you think it would have been worth, that argument, bringing awareness to your restaurant? Like, do you think it would have been good for the exposure?
I don't. I don't. I
You don't
wouldn't
think
want.
so?
I wouldn't want like my restaurant to be like affiliated with like.
You
Um,
wouldn't?
I mean, not if all these people do is bring like drama into like my restaurant. Like
Yeah,
if they're like nice people that were like famous for like something decent or not as chaotic. But if
yeah.
that's all they bring to the table, just like a bunch of like noisy like screaming match and like table flipping, I would rather them not.
Yeah, definitely. I think that I'm not sure if they ever filmed back at that restaurant. For example, Vanderpump Rules, Tom Tom. How many times have fights broken out, whether in the back alley or in the restaurant amongst team members? I don't think they've ever had like fights,
I don't.
tables flipping.
They didn't. They didn't fight at downtown. They always fought like behind Sir.
Yeah, I'm
Like
thinking like, when Stassi had her book signing at Tom Tom and Tom Sandoval like lost his mind and was like screaming at her at the very front of the entrance saying, you're like inconsiderate and blah blah blah. And then Stassi's like, you egotistical. She says something like, you egotistical like mother effer or son of a bitch, whatever. And so she basically like she's screaming at, and he's not even the owner. He's like part owner, part he owns like 5% of the restaurant, which is in essence nothing. It's basically we're paying like Lisa Vanderpump is paying you for your name, but the fact that he acted like that, do you think stuff like that is worth the exposure for your restaurant?
I don't know. I see it differently. I feel like that's negative, like
Yeah,
negatively affecting. Like, because it's like
the
okay,
restaurant.
like if we go there, are we gonna like see some like are we gonna be having a nice dinner and then like all of a sudden a screaming match is gonna break out, or like am I gonna be having a nice dinner and like people are gonna start fighting? Like I don't know. So I would not want that associated.
Yeah, you don't really like you said, you made a good point. You don't really see it like too often in Vanderpump Rules, but you see it more in Housewives when they're out at dinner or lunch or having brunch, where they're out in a restaurant and conversations get really heated and they're around other people and their room is not a private closed off room. I love getting those scenes of the camera crew grabbing, expressions from people in the crowd or in the restaurant, and they're just kind of like staring and looking at the housewives being like, what is going on, like how embarrassing. But I think you make a very good point. I think a lot of times people would not, as an owner, you're coming here, you're causing a scene. If people like you, Manny, who don't like reality TV like that, they're gonna be turned off from going to a place like a restaurant like that, right? Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
And the difference
And
between that and like Vanderpump is like one, Vanderpump was owned by like Lisa, and then two, like anytime they would argue, at least for the first few seasons, the only time they would argue would be like in the back of the store. Like they would never
yeah,
really fight or argue. The only and even when they did fight, like the only fight that really broke out was like Tom and Jax, and that was still also
oh
with
yeah,
her.
yeah,
I mean, it's different for them because like at least like she owns the restaurant. Like if anything happens, like she knows, like she signed up for this.
yeah,
But like for them who are just, they're just trying to go to dinner and they just pick a random restaurant. It's like, okay, they check with the owner said okay, and then you do this in the restaurant. It's like, if I was the owner,
yeah.
I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, why? Like, if this is what y'all were gonna do, I would have said no.
I've always wondered, how many times restaurants have kicked out these housewives or banned them. Because rewatching the Housewives of New Jersey recently, I noticed that they were in Milan, and I think it was season 8, and it was like the Siggy, Danielle, Dolores, Margaret season, and they're in Milan, and they get into a really heated argument, and Melissa says, they're kicking us out, we have to get up. I have not heard those words come out from a housewife, I don't think, in any other I don't watch all the franchises. I only watch OC, Beverly Hills, and New Jersey, Salt Lake City, and I don't think I've ever heard another housewife saying, they're kicking us out. Well, can you imagine causing a scene? If you're going to cause a scene in the United States, this is where we live, going across the country, I mean, across the world, like to Milan, to
Yeah,
Italy,
that's probably different in Milan. 'Cause I'm like, they don't fucking know you're here. I don't care about you here.
you're literally, yeah, like,
Like to them,
imagine
you're
what
just
of a,
another regular individual. Like, hey, you're making a seat in my store. The fuck out.
yeah, they're like, I'm not putting up with this shit. Like, we're like a high tourist area. Absolutely not. I think, yeah, that's a good point. Do you think that reality shows glamorize like bad behavior in restaurants? And how do you think that affects like real restaurant?
They glamorize bad behavior. Period. Like
Yeah, not
like
even just in restaurants. You're
they're
right.
highlight like they're showing the world as like, look, we're famous for being like petty, like toxic, and like making a ruckus everywhere we go. Like, but look,
Causing
we're
drama.
famous and like making money.
Yeah.
But for sure, it definitely shows that I don't think. Well, finish your question. You were
No,
saying
no.
like if it highlights bad behavior in restaurants, I don't think it does. I like.
You don't think, okay, let's say Bravo. You don't think Bravo highlights like, do you think that they not enable, but that they glamorize?
I mean, yeah, that's their whole like skit. Like that's all. Like Bravo's like
That's what they're known for.
reality TV. Like we bring the drama or whatever. But I feel like as a restaurant, I don't think the restaurant itself is highlighting because I don't think they let these people in knowing they're gonna do that. Like
Hmm.
I feel like they genuinely like. I feel like the first few seasons of like shows like this when they first came out, they genuinely thought, oh, this could be good exposure for like my restaurant, and then
Yeah.
they found out what the hell like these people are known for, and they're like, yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah. I think that at the beginning, especially since this was like the late 2000s, the show was, I think, recorded or they were recording or filming in 2008. This aired in 2009. How far have we come in in production, in streaming services, social media? How far have we come in 15, 16, 17 years? Yeah,
About
17 years. How
about
far have we come, from then till now? Back then, people weren't on social media. There weren't iPhones around. You couldn't live stream stuff like you can now. You didn't have bloggers like that. You had maybe paparazzis getting, slammed on the front cover of magazines that people actually read. But now it's, you can get all these articles, and you can get all these, celeb lines, and people, submitting stories and stuff like that, posting pictures of people filming and housewives filming, and or you can go online, make a video on TikTok, and it go viral of what you saw, what you witnessed, what you heard. The times have changed a lot, and I think now it's a lot easier for a restaurant to catch a bad rep for, supporting sometimes these housewives, or just
yeah, like you said, supporting or being involved with like the reputation they bring along.
being associated to. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
That's why I don't like these shows.
I feel like in Laredo or in South Texas, like you may get something like that in Orlando where we live, but out here on the border, we live in a small town. You wouldn't see much of that.
I would hope not.
I know, right? What would you flip a table for, babe? Rapid fire. Somebody sending back their meal 3 times?
That's happened before to me, and no, I wouldn't
A
flip a
guest
table
snapping
over
their
that.
fingers at you?
I would ignore them.
A celeb refusing to tip?
I'd blast them on social media.
Well, again, back then there wasn't like so much high social media, so
That was Facebook's day. Facebook was very powerful back then. Don't underestimate Facebook back in the day.
oh my god.
Facebook would spread the word.
No, for real.
Now,
TikTok.
now it's TikTok and Instagram. But back in the day, if you wanted to get a message out there, just post it on Facebook, and
Blast.
if enough people shared it, it was gonna get some traction.
Yeah, for real. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody well known stiffed you or didn't tip well?
Not well known, but yeah,
Oh,
no, like I'm saying, like no, I haven't had anyone that's like well known. I worked at Cheddar's, babe. There was no one like I don't think anyone famous ever been to like that Cheddar's over there.
and that's kind of crazy considering like how close we are to Disney.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I've never heard of anyone famous being.
Do you remember that one year that we were watching? So in Jersey Shore Family Vacation a few seasons ago, they were in Orlando and they were at Margaritaville. You can see Cheddar's on 192 in the background while they're driving to Margarita. They're driving up and down 192.
I don't think you saw it. We know that that's the street it's on. I don't know.
No, I saw it on the on the outside of the car as they were driving. You could see the sign.
I didn't see it, but yeah, I do remember that they were. That is crazy to think that they were there. I feel like
Yeah.
the rest of them is too casual. Like that's not a
Cheddar's?
yeah. Like I don't think you
They
ever got
serve chicky tendies, which is what Mike the Situation is like known for
everywhere.
always ordering. Huh?
Everywhere has chicken
You
tenders.
cannot compare Whataburgers or McDonald's chicken strips
Okay, that's a fast food restaurant.
to
If we're talking about like restaurants, if you're comparing a restaurant to a restaurant, there's more
okay,
places I could.
Applebee's is right down 192. It's closer to Margaritaville.
I'll take Ale House over any of these restaurants any day. I
Huh?
will take Ale House over any of those restaurants any day.
True. But I will say, I will give Cheddar's, they have really great tenders. And when they make their buffalo sauce right and don't put too much barbecue sauce in it, it's so fire. Yeah, our buffalo sauce has barbecue sauce in it. It's crazy, right? I still remember. I still got it.
First thing I've heard today. Actually,
Yeah,
no.
so when they make
Second
it,
dumbest
when
thing
they
I've
put
heard
too
today.
much barbecue, it tastes like absolute shit.
Second dumbest thing I've heard today.
But I think we had a really good reality check, please.
Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore.
How would you react, babe? Okay, closing statement. Closing question. How would you react if I was Teresa in that moment? Because you know how hot-headed I can be. And I feel like I would take me flipping a table versus me throwing something. Because I feel like if you throw something at someone, whether it's like you chuck like a drink in someone's face, the most that you can do is like flip a table and drop everything on the table.
Huh?
But if you throw something like a utensil or like a glass on the floor, God forbid it hurts someone. What would you prefer? Would you prefer people flipping tables like Teresa did or people throwing things in your restaurant?
I prefer neither, but if I had to pick, probably like yes, I would prefer they like flip a table instead of throwing anything.
How would you react if I flipped the table or if I flipped the table like Teresa?
I wouldn't let you flip a damn table.
No?
No, like I would not let you like flip a table.
Hey, let's hope we never get into that predicament
You better hope not. We're gonna have a very not comfortable conversation afterwards. I'm not.
when we get home, right? But in that moment you stick up for me. If the conversation was going, like if someone and I were arguing and that person was Danielle Staub, and if I flipped the table,
Okay, the table flipping was not justified. Like
you don't think so?
no, I mean no. Like if you're doing something that's not right, I'm not gonna defend you. Like, well, I'm gonna get you out of the situation and not like I'm not gonna try to defend you if I know you're wrong. Like I'm gonna try to just
Yeah.
because it's like that was not necessary. Like for her, like if they were just arguing about like the book, like there's no need for her to like flip that. I understand the circumstance. Like yes, she's a dangerous person. She's been involved in shady shit. Like I understand. Like everyone has a right to be concerned. But
Yeah.
it's like her flipping that table, I don't think was necessary. And if we were ever in a situation like that, where I see you getting that heated, I would just tell you, let's get out of here. before things get worse. Like, there's no need to waste our energy or like do something that it's gonna have a negative picture towards you, whether
Yeah.
you're famous or not. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need you to be associated with this kind of behavior.
Yeah, and I do think that what Danielle said, given the edit, she just said two things that were in this book were true. Name change and I got arrested. Pay attention, please. And then Teresa says, well, obviously there must be something else. It's not just name change and arrested. She says, prostitution whore, you were effing engaged 19 times. And then she says, you effing stupid bitch. And then she flips the table. I personally don't think that pay attention, please.
And Teresa's just too bipolar.
Yes. And she gets triggered real easily for the little things. But for me, I don't think someone that says, pay attention, please, I don't think that that warrants the table flip. But if you're sitting there saying, bringing my kid into it or bringing my marriage into it or bringing my home, like we saw the house you lived in before, Teresa, like she says something like that in a later episode, or when you bring like your family, like when two women are fighting and they're fighting their words and they're fighting about, each other, that's one thing. But when you bring parents, children, husbands into the mix, I think that gets very like murky waters, and you
Yeah,
should not do that.
I agree.
That warrants maybe a table flip. But in this regard, I do think that maybe it was a stretch for her to say, pay attention, please. Teresa's mind, she says, I'm not stupid. I'm not like, don't like for her, that whole pay attention, please was the last straw. Like, don't tell me to pay attention. Like, I heard you the first time.
Again, she's very volatile and bipolar, which is
Yeah.
her problem.
Yeah.
But yes, like that whole group, I mean, they don't feel bad that their show is potentially getting canceled. They'll be fine without their spotlight.
Well, it's kind of like Vanderpump. Like they, this season, like the whole
Exactly.
cast got, I guess you could say,
Like
fired or
look at
not
what
called
that
back.
cast is now. The only person who is the only person who's like actually doing well and is successful is like Ariana, because everyone else is involved in like
Well,
not.
Ariana and Katie also have their sandwich shop, so they actually have like a business. Lala, I cannot stand her. I cannot stomach her. She's just become like too toxic for me. Sheena, I will always love Sheena. Does she have, some shadiness to her, some pettiness to her? Yes, I would love to get her on the podcast. Little fun fact, I have had words with Sheena before over social media. She's the best. I will always like be in her corner. Can she say, dumb stuff sometimes? Yes, but I think that she would be somebody very perfect to come on the podcast because she was on VPR since day one. She has a lot of that insight, of what it takes to be somebody in the food service industry, especially like, wrapping up, the people on Vanderpump Rules, because Lisa was also a housewife, there were several times where the housewives would have dinner or lunch at Sir, and, there would be parties in the back garden or in private rooms, and they would, stuff would pop off. So they got that firsthand experience of, being servers, serving on reality stars, and them causing scenes, at a table and it being awkward. I remember Stassi saying, like, it's so awkward, like, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go out there. And so I would love to get Sheena's perspective on that because she would know better than anybody.
I mean, yeah, but it's like the point I was making is like I'm glad they're not no longer in the spotlight to be able to like be rewarded basically for like being like toxic and like petty and doing all this stuff that is just not something, that should be done.
If we were in their positions and we were getting a paycheck and we were paid very well, we had $2 million homes in LA and we had money coming in,
I'm gonna let you
being
finish.
paid, X amount of thousands of dollars per episode. Would you think it's worth it?
I'm telling you right now, if we were in a situation, we would be the most boring couple because I'm not leaving my damn house to interact with these people. I've told you time and time again, if I ever become rich and famous,
Nobody's gonna know about it.
no one's gonna know. You know why? Because my ass is gonna be sitting at this desk playing games all damn day and playing with Eddie. That's about it.
I get that, but at the same time, it's if either one of us signs up for like reality TV, it would be our job to film with other people.
It's my job to be on camera. I don't have to interact with them.
You don't have to what?
It's my job to be on camera. I don't have to interact with them.
No, you have call sheets. Like they have, okay, you're gonna, you're working tomorrow at 11 p.m. You're showing up at X spot. you're gonna film with so and so.
That's fine. I don't have to enter. I just have to be there. I don't have to entertain anything that's going on.
So you're gonna sit there in silence?
I'm not gonna sit there in silence, but I'm not gonna react. Like I'm not gonna give them what they want. Like I'm not gonna sit there and
Oh
react to
my
like
God.
them being petty or like anything being like them being toxic to me. I'm just gonna sit there and be like,
I
okay.
don't think you'd initially like voluntarily. I don't think you would be toxic, and I don't think that you would be one to, get in the gossip. Maybe I would,
I know you would.
maybe more back then, but now that I have a kid, I'm like, now that I'm a little bit older and I'm in my 30s, I'm just kind of like, no. But that was our pitch for reality.
If we were in that situation, yes, I would like. I mean, if we have to be friends with these, like, no, scratch that. If we have to associate with these people, like, yeah, I'll associate with them. But like, if I see something I don't like in someone, like, I'm not going to like,
Hold back.
yeah, like, I'll be cordial. I will like, if we have to film together, cool. If we have to interact and like be somewhere together, that's fine. I can make small talk. I can talk to you. But as soon as you try to like like involve me in whatever you have going on. B, try to get me to support you in something you got going on. If I don't agree with it, I'll tell you flat out to your face. I'm like, I no, like I am
Yeah.
not afraid to tell people like, no, like what you're doing is wrong. Like I don't support it. Like, and that's what I don't like about those shows. Is like they'll tell one thing to someone's face and then turn around when they're with someone else and be like, no, like no, they're doing this, like this, and that. That's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I don't like about those shows.
And I think for example, in defense with VPR, the first seasons, why it worked so well is because they were actually friends. All of them, minus Sheena. Like Sheena was a new girl in the restaurant. She had come from another.
She came from her own scandal.
No. She worked at a different location for Lisa. She worked at Villa Blanca, which is where she met Ariana and Tom. And then she got moved to Sir because it was going to be better for her or whatever. And probably VPR helped. But in their situation or in their instance, they were all really friends, like in real life, which is why the show did so well. It was so organic, it was so natural. When it comes to Housewives, for the first season, like a new Housewife franchise, maybe these people know each other, but they're not all friends. Like I think why it worked also so well for Jersey and why I personally like it is because the very first season, it was Dina Manzo, Caroline Manzo. They were sisters. Jacqueline, she was her sister-in-law, and she was best friends with Teresa. And Teresa was friends with Dina also and Caroline. And so it worked very well. When you have these housewives shows, you have castings, and so these women have to audition basically, I think, for these shows. So it's different and it's not as organic as Vanderpump was. So I think like for us, if there were if there was ever a show that was gonna like come to the restaurant that we worked at, and if they were gonna follow around our group of friends, maybe in that instance we would be more involved because this is our real life. This is what we do, in reality, which is what Vanderpump was.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, do you think in reality the housewives are all vacationing together? Like, no, there has to be, I think, two cast trips per season. Like one small cast trip and then like a big, like overseas cast trip.
I don't
There's
know. That'd
normally
be
always
pretty
two cast
natural.
trips, like one within the States and then another one like a huge overseas cast trip. So,
I mean, I guess, yeah, it will make it more natural, but I don't know. I'm still not one. Like, especially now, like you said, like now that we have a kid and like we're older, like I'm not here to. I got
fuck around and
shit
find
to
out.
do. Like, huh?
Like, you're not here to fuck around and find out.
Not only that, like no, I'll fuck around if I know. I'm saying like I'm not here to entertain like drama or like people just
Or
being
create
stupid.
drama for
Yeah, like
ratings.
I got shit to do. I got bills to pay. I got a son to raise. Like I'm not here to talk about what so and so did last night or what so and so said the other day. Like
Who they're sleeping with
yeah, like
or
congrats
what
to
their past
you.
was.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like
I think so. Tying it back to Teresa, I think that reaction was true, and I think that since it was their first season, it was authentic and genuine. Like her reaction was like, "I'm not gonna flip this table because it's gonna get us more screen time or it's gonna get us great ratings." I think that she's a hothead, like an Italian spicy hothead, and she did what her body reacted to. I think I would be the same. But I think that it was genuine. Now, 14 seasons later, a lot of the times these housewives see what worked so well in the past and they want to recreate that, like any reality TV show would. when something works so good at the very beginning, people try to recreate that, and I think that that's where things go wrong. And I think that Danielle is like that because Danielle Staub, she is just so toxic, and she wants she just wants, I mean, she said it on season 1. She was on dating shows that were called dating shows. She was on dating websites that were called wealthymen.com. It said over and over the season that she was there that she was just trying to marry for money. Like, she gives me the ultimate ick. Like, I doubt she'll ever hear this, but she is a certified gold digger.
I
But
don't care if she hears.
she is one that would be more theatrical. She would be more, and we'll see some stuff that happens over the seasons with New Jersey that we'll cover too. But she is a mess. She's a mess. I'm telling you.
About anything else.
But I think that's all we have for today. Anything else you want to say, babe?
Don't watch these shows; they're a waste of time.
Oh my God, don't say that. But I'm ready to clock out. It's been a fun episode that we had today. I am currently actually rewatching Housewives, my favorite New Jersey seasons, or season 1 and 2. I do love, Melissa Gorga and Joe Gorga, and I love the later seasons, but something so nostalgic of just the first and second season for me are great. I love them. I can literally rewatch those 2 seasons just over and over again. But yeah, I think if I would ever move somewhere, I would love to live in New Jersey. It's just such a beautiful state. I would love it. I would absolutely love it. But regardless, we will be back next week with some more reality check. Please, on Behind the Apron. I'm Kassy.
And I'm Manny.
And we are ready to clock out, you guys. I hope you guys had a great listen. If this inspires you to watch New Jersey, let us know. Even if it's just the first episode, the finale episode. We have some great episodes, some great subjects, some great, housewife reality drama that we will be covering. And yeah, do not forget to do all the podcast things like share, comment, subscribe. Share this episode with somebody that you love. If you know of anybody, or if you have personally served on housewives or celebrities or reality stars or TV personalities, people with, that people know, filming or not filming, let us know. Give us, shoot us an email. We'd love to interview you too. We'd love to bring you on the podcast just so you could give us a little bit of insight on what you've witnessed. I doubt you signed NDAs, but even if it's just kind of to talk about, the experience that you personally had as a server, as an employee in the restaurant, we'd love to hear it.
And even if you did sign an NDA, we can, talk without saying names.
Yeah, or we can talk about gaming specifics or just an overall vibe. But yeah. Anything else, babe? We hope you guys have a great Monday and an even better week. Stay hydrated.
Hydrated, safe, stay out of the sun, especially if you live in Texas, because this place is a hellhole. If you work, I hope this is a great warm up for your day, and that it puts you in the right mindset to kick off your week. If you work, once again, hope you have a great day. Hope it's Money Monday, and that you have a fantastic shift.
Exactly. But that does it. I think we're ready to clock out. Spend the rest of this beautiful Sunday afternoon doing a whole lot of nothing. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next week, foodies.